on today's show.
Yeah, there's an extra sense of motivation that we could have got it done and we didn't. And why did we not get it done? And then when I don't feel like getting up in the morning or I don't feel like giving the extra effort, I'm going to reflect back on that and say, I don't want that to happen again. Things are going to be different.
Another episode of Kansas Sports Chatter is underway, streaming on YouTube and our social media platforms. It is a statewide high school sports show leaning on the entertainment side here for the state of Kansas. Hello, everybody. I'm Cole Reif, and fresh off a Kansas State Fair outing this past weekend. Little guy, our 5-year-old, was competing in the tractor pull, which is a show in itself. But it's been a while since I've been back to the State Fair. We went as a kid a few times, but I kind of forgot just how big of an event that is. I mean, it is huge. Like everything you could possibly see, smell, or eat is at the State Fair. So hats off to everybody that puts that thing on. I know there's a lot of volunteers and officials that make that thing possible to be a statewide attraction. Highly, highly impressive. It's like it should have its own zip code. Like you have Hutchinson, South Hutch, and then it should have the State Fair zip code as well. So highly suggest if you're looking for something to do this week, make sure you squeeze in some time to go check out the State Fair in Hutchinson. Now, it is fitting that I went to the State Fair this past weekend because we're getting salty on today's show. Members of the Hutchinson football team will be joining us for our leadoff question. Tramel Walker, Jackson Anderson, GaVaughn Embers here shortly to answer that question. Jennifer Fitzpatrick, a volleyball official in the state of Kansas, will join us to talk about a recently tweaked rule from Keisha about the multiple contacts in volleyball. She'll talk about that rule. Dylan Schmidt, Andale football coach, will join us for a quality time interview. John Baetz with Kansas Pregame magazine, another great edition of the magazine, came out earlier this summer. We'll talk with the CEO and publisher, John Baetz, and Riley Vandaveer, a member of the Wichita State cross country team and formerly of Olathe South High School, will be our next level talents. Let's get things started with our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with student athlete Tramel Walker with Hutchinson High School football. Tramel, if you could give any advice to a freshman coming into varsity football, what would it be?
I would just say stick to the program. I think our coaches know what they're really doing. So, just really buy in and give in. And, downtimes are going to come, but just persevere and keep going through it.
How did you learn that advice? When did that kind of sink in for you in your high school career?
I think it started it was tough my freshman year because I really wanted to play a bigger role. But when sophomore year hit and I got stronger, I got faster, and everything just started going better. So I knew what my coaches were talking about, and other seniors and other leaders kind of told me the same thing.
What do you remember about your freshman year? What was it like coming into that first year of high school football?
It was a lot. I was smaller. I was looking up to a lot of bigger people. They were just way faster, way bigger, and it really showed levels to it. And I knew I had to work really hard to get where I wanted to be. So,
did anybody reach out to you, like the upperclassmen, when you were a freshman?
When I was a freshman, by name, probably Noah Kokart. He really told me to stick to the program. He was a great mentor.
So for now, you in that leadership role as an upperclassman, do you reach out to the freshmen or do you wait for them to come to you?
No, I usually reach out. I try to let them know that, just stick to the program. That's really what it is.
That is Tramel Walker with Hutchinson football with our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question on Kansas Sports Chatter. We're joined with student athlete from Hutchinson football, Jackson Anderson. Jackson, what advice would you give to any freshman coming into varsity football?
I would say be confident, come in strong. Don't try to sag back. If you can get up to something, try. Just try really hard to fit in with the big guys. They'll show you what to do.
When did that sink in for you? When did you learn that piece of advice?
My first weights class, really. There's a guy, Landon Dixon, and he was really hard on us. But you could tell that he really wanted us to grow and do what we could do.
Rewind to your freshman year. What was it like coming into Hutchinson football as a freshman?
It was fun, but it was hard. It showed that nothing's going to be easy coming into it and that you're going to have to work for what you want.
Did anybody reach out to you when you were a freshman? Did you get any advice from any upperclassmen or coaches?
I did. There's the linebacker coach and the three linebackers that were starting, Dalton Luce, and then Landon Dixon, Carter Morgan, and Kevin Wilson. They're a big influence. They showed me what I needed to do. They showed me the ropes. Honestly, they made me into the player I am today.
So for you now in that big leadership role, do you reach out to those freshmen or do you wait for them to come to you and ask questions?
A little bit of both. I try to reach out. I try to perform that leader role like they did for me. But sometimes it can be a little hard with the younger ones, but I try.
That is Jackson Anderson with Hutchinson football with today's leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with GaVaughn Embers, a student athlete with the Hutchinson football team. GaVaughn, what advice would you give any freshman coming into varsity football?
Have good effort and attitude, because your effort and attitude will take you a long way. If you have good effort, you'll get a lot better, a lot quicker. If you have a good attitude, a lot of people will like you a lot more.
Was that something you realized early on in your high school career entering as a freshman, but when did you pick that up?
I'd say around towards the end of freshman year, beginning of sophomore year, because that's something our coaches harp on us a lot, is attitude and effort. So I think that's a good thing to have, and I learned that pretty quick.
Can you remember what that freshman year was like, especially early on before the season even got started? What it was like coming into Hutchinson football as a freshman?
It was different. The weights program was different. Like, people worked a lot harder. They were a lot bigger and stronger and faster. So, yeah, there are different levels to it. As one of the other kids said, it's really just like a big deal to get a lot bigger and a lot stronger and a lot faster and quick, because the game is a lot stronger and a lot faster.
Did anybody give you advice? Do you remember anything specific that stood out to you that helped you out that freshman year?
Not really, but something that was not any advice that I got was really specific, but some of the guys like Ty Clark and Ty Atkins, they were guys that were seniors when I was young. They really helped me out because they lifted hard and I was in their weight groups, and they just helped me get stronger a lot faster because they were hard on me and helped.
So now going into this season for Hutchinson, how much do you reach out to those freshmen, or do you wait for them to come and ask you questions?
I really wait for them to come to me, honestly, but I'm not opposed or averse to like helping them or teaching them or anything like that. If they want to come to me, that's fine. I can reach out. I just don't know a lot of the freshmen yet. So once I get to know them a little better, I'll start reaching out a lot more.
That's GaVaughn Embers with Hutchinson football with today's leadoff question. Hutchinson football well represented on the show today with our leadoff question. Big thanks to Jackson Anderson, Tramel Walker, and also GaVaughn Embers, all part of that Salt Hawk football team that started out 1-0 in a game coming up this Friday against Valley Center. But appreciate those Salt Hawk football players joining us for our leadoff question. We'll take a break. When we come back on the show, Jennifer Fitzpatrick, a longtime volleyball official in the state of Kansas, with that recent tweak to the multiple contact hit rule in volleyball in the States. Jennifer will kind of help us break that down and how it is making things maybe a little bit easier and more enjoyable for volleyball fans, players, and coaches. We'll talk about that with Jennifer after this.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
Kansas Sports Chatter is not your ordinary sports show. It's fast-paced, has tons of interviews, and is a celebration of all the successes that high school athletics bring us. Hear from statewide guests, the coaches, the players, officials, media personalities, and all the recognizable big names that make high school athletics so great in Kansas. Kansas Sports Chatter, where sports and entertainment collide. Check it out on YouTube or anywhere you download your podcasts. Welcome back in on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our Stripes and Whistles with Kansas referees segments. This is our opportunity to maybe get more clarification on certain rules. We're going to talk with referees, officials, and umpires throughout the season and kind of get their view on different aspects throughout the sport. And today we bring in Jennifer Fitzpatrick. She's a, well, can I say longtime official? Like, how long have you been officiating volleyball, Jennifer?
23 years, I believe.
23, so you're a veteran at this. And the big reason I wanted you to come on, because Keisha came out recently about the multiple contact rule, Jennifer, and I'll read it verbatim. Is teams are now allowed multiple contacts on the second hit, such as a mishandled set, if the ball is next contacted by a teammate. And I think for a lot of people that follow volleyball a lot, Jennifer, that's probably pretty clear. But let's go ahead and start at the beginning. What is that multiple hit, and where does it come into play in volleyball?
Multiple hit contact rule is basically you can hit it off one hand, off another hand, and then it can go. It no longer makes you play it off both hands at the same time. You can't hit it with one arm and then, reach over and hit it with another arm. That's still not legal. But what it's done is make it so that, some of our, girls that are a little bit younger have a little trouble with keeping their hands together. And I think it's going to allow for more flexibility for kids to try to use their hands.
So I guess the obvious question is, that still count as one hit though?
It does.
Okay.
So you can technically do it on the first hit over on a pass. That's been that way for several years now. And now you can do it on the second. And
okay,
it still only counts as two hits.
Okay, so how big of a rule change is that for not only officials but players as well?
I would have told you at the beginning of the season when it came out and I saw that we were changing it, this was going to be a disaster area. It has not been. I think it's been a good change. I did 3 jamborees and I've done a weekend tournament in Hayes and a triangular last night in Hoisington. And I have called in all of that. One time have I had to call somebody sending it over the net on the 2 hits. And otherwise, it's really allowed the girls to play.
So the big part of that, the multiple hit, it has to go to a teammate after that multiple hit?
That is correct. It cannot go across the net. So if it's on the second hit and the setter takes it and she doesn't have her hands together and does a 2 hit and it goes across the net, then it is illegal. Then you call 2 hits.
Okay. Have you seen this rule in play in different parts as far as maybe different states or different areas? Is Kansas kind of now with a lot of others, or is this fairly new?
I think this is the first year in high school that it's been done. I'm pretty sure on that. It's been done in college for a while now and allowed that. So it tends to filter down to us.
As far as the multiple hit contact goes, Jennifer, I mean, because we've always seen it with the blocks, right? That's always been allowed as far as if there was an actual block. Okay.
Correct. That is correct.
So for now, with this basis, I mean, have you seen this for a while coming as far as maybe making it easier for everybody in the sport?
I was a little surprised we got it as quick as we did. I think the multiple contacts on the first hit over the net, that was a big change. I was a little surprised we saw this as early as we did, since the college hasn't been doing it very long. But I would have to be honest, I think it's probably a necessary change.
Any other rules in volleyball that kind of stick out that I think maybe fans have a misconception of or maybe a little bit confusing for them?
None that are vastly different this year. One thing you might see, this is different this year. Your second referee, your down official does not have to have a lineup card legally. Most of them, I think, still will, but they don't have to, and they can keep track in their mind. I don't know that I'm in favor of that. I'll probably keep my lineup card forever, but
right.
That's probably the second biggest change this year.
Good stuff. All right. I appreciate the clarification, Jennifer. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
That is Jennifer Fitzpatrick, a volleyball official with over 20 years of experience and helping us out here on Volleyball Chatter. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Myers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our quality time interview, and our guest today is going to be Dylan Schmidt. He is the head coach of the Andale football team. Coach, you're an Andale guy. You grew up around the area. You went to school there. I guess, did you ever envision yourself not only coaching there, but having the success you've had now going into year 9?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. You know, I'm a confident guy, and I was confident in the situation I was getting into. With all that said, there's a lot of moving parts, and so you just never know how it's going to go. But you know, it's been the result of a lot of people. You know, and it's been a ton of fun. You know, I'm super passionate about what I do, and so that's what's made it so rewarding. But there's no doubt about it. There's so many people that play into it, and so as much as you have confidence in yourself, there's sometimes things that are out of your control, and you know, it out of my control in a good way is how things have went over the last 9 years.
Well, you go back to your playing days, high school, and obviously going into college, and you mentioned to me earlier that, you know, you're kind of a track athlete with pole vault, but football was a focus as well. At what point did you kind of realize, okay, I'm going to either start focusing on pole vault or now I'm going to switch back to football? How tough a decision was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at a college track job. Actually got offered a college track job. You know, when I finished and thought, man, what a great deal. I loved coaching. I was a grad assistant a year for Wichita State, was at K-State for a while, and then finished at Wichita State. And looked at some other things outside education too, some medical sales and different jobs. And but I wasn't going to be the pole vault coach at Andale because my dad was still there and still is. And so that's been really impressive for him and all the success he's had. But kind of slowly but surely got back into the teaching, coaching world, and spent some time at Circle, spent a little time at Wellington, and then was assistant for a while with Gary O'Hare, and just enjoyed football, enjoyed all the sports, verbally committed to go play college football at Fort Hays, and, you know, played football, basketball, and track in high school. I was more talented in track, but really loved them all the same. And so the football job was coming open, and I thought I could do a good job, and just enjoyed watching and learning and all those things. And so it's really worked out well. I obviously coached track a lot of years at Andale too. But just with everything I had going on with kids, I have 5 kids with my wife, and my kids are doing a bunch of sports. I knew I'd kind of have to pick one. And so I've coached football, I've coached basketball, I've coached track. Maybe down the road I can get back into the track if my kids get into it. But right now doing the football is plenty busy for me.
Go back to that hiring process for Andale. What was that like? What do you remember about getting accepted and getting that job at Andale?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it being intense, and a lot of great names interviewed for it. And as much as I felt like, you know, I would be a shoo-in for the job, it really came down to the 8 or 9 people that were on the panel. And, you know, I think the thing that they realized was, you know, the effort and energy I was going to put into the job was contagious. And, you know, obviously being really excited once I got it. Because once I got going with my career, it was one of those deals where I stepped back and said, hey, look, there's a lot of good places out there, but Andale's one of the best. And I'm passionate about this place, and I want to make it the best because it's where I'm from. And, you know, like I said, my dad's still coaching here. And so there's a lot of things that played into it. But, you know, just being ready to hit the ground running. I mean, I can – it's funny now. I mean, you can call me a veteran coach, I guess. Still feel young, but, you know, how excited you are when you get your first job or when you get a job like that. I mean, it was I couldn't put enough hours in.
Did you know right away when you first started at Andale, like what type of system you wanted to implement? And if so, did you reach out to anybody for advice?
Yeah, yes and no again. We'd had success, obviously, with what we were doing with Gary, kind of being ground and pound and our robust formation and slot and some of the different formations we run. I knew there were some things I wanted to do a little bit different. We've added kind of more misdirection and called some things different. But in general, the kids that we were going to get fit our system with being, ground and pound and running the ball and just everything we were doing. It all made sense. And so as much as, I know teams have kind of pivoted to throwing around 30 or 40 times. There's years we throw up more than others, depending on our quarterback and receivers. But, our identity has been running the football. And it's hard to argue with the success we've had. And prior, obviously, to me, it was Gary having that success. And so I knew I could kind of take that and run with it a little bit.
Well, a credit to your program, what you've been able to accomplish already in the first 8 years are just remarkable. I mean, Coach, there's a lot of really good programs out there that have won state championships, that have good records, but I mean, there's not too many people in your club. I mean, you look at your 8 years and your coaching staff, 97-4 going into your 9th year, obviously the state championships that you've been able to rack up. So my obvious question that, from the masses of the people, like, how are you so dominant? Like, what are some of the keys to success that have made Andale football? When people think of Andale football, they just think dominance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I if someone said, hey, you only got one answer, I mean, I'd say it's the accumulation of doing a lot of things very well. And I know that's a general statement, but, we break it down into three things, or I break it down into three things. It's people, it's process, and it's product. The product that we get every day from the kids, or the kids being the product, it's a good product. It's kids that work hard. They're athletic. They want to be coached. Their parents want them to be there. So it's a tremendous product year in, year out that we get. The people are the kind of the surrounding people. It's the coaches. It's the support staff. It's the administration. It's the booster club. I mean, there's 50 to 60 to 70 people I could name that all support our football program in some way. And we have great people in Andale and that support football. And then obviously our process, and that's where I take a ton of pride in it, is that, what are we doing on the daily from a practice standpoint, from a weight room standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint? Are we checking all the boxes? Are we getting all things done that we need to have the best team possible, regardless of what product we get that year? And that's where I feel like every year we continue to get better and better and better with our process. And so, those are the three big deals. If you can get a great product, if you can get great people around the product, and then if you can have great processes, great things happen.
And I guess one of the byproducts, I mean, you go looking back even a couple of years ago when you guys were in that stretch of that 57-game win streak, and I know that's probably not what you're preaching to your players, worried about the win streak by any means, but at the same time, now looking back at it, Coach, what was it like in the middle of that, and just as a player or as a coach as you're continuing those wins?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say nothing different than it is now. I mean, every single game, every single week, every single day, you're trying to get better. And it wasn't that, man, we got to get win number 58 or we got to get win number 36. I mean, I didn't think about it that much. I honestly didn't. And I knew that hey, we were winning and we had the nation's longest winning streak. And man, this is special. We had, media coverage come out and had a little deal. Overtime production came out, it's all cool. But the bottom line is that every day it's getting an extra rep in the weight room. It's, running the play a little bit better, being better on your down block. All those details that's just what coaches do. And so there's this tunnel focus of, how do we get better every day? And when you continue to do that, then obviously the wins start piling up. And even to this day, it's like, I reflect back and I say, man, that was really neat to get to 57. Well, we're at 13 now, and now we're thinking about number 14.
Right.
And El Dorado on Friday, and can we keep that rolling? And it's not about thinking about getting win number 58 or 60 or whatever. It's just, hey, let's get better. Let's be ready to go for Friday. And maybe that's cliche. I don't know, but it's just the way I'm wired. Get up and have goals and get your butt moving and get out the door and When I get home at night, I have no problem sleeping. And I hope that's the case for my coaches and my kids and everybody. Let's go put in a full day's work and see where we're at the end of the day.
Well, it seems like you mentioned, alluded to, Coach, like you be motivated no matter what. But was there any extra motivation? I mean, what was that feeling after, like, say, the year 2 years ago and end up, falling to Cheney and then coming back the next year? Did you feel any extra motivation going into last season?
Yeah, I think so. Just being honest, and that's human nature a little bit, that we didn't like how it went. We felt like we had a championship level team that year that Cheney beat us, and we did. Could have won both of those games. Could have, should have, would have. We didn't. Cheney got it done, and we didn't. But the bottom line is, both those games we led, and not only led, we led big time. And they did a great job coming back, and then they go on and win state. And so it's kind of a, man, what could have been. But even in 2018, we get beat by Pratt in the semi, and that's a barn burner of a game. It comes down to a couple plays, and we have a chance to go for two at the end and tie it up 21-21. They go on and they're leading in the state championship game with about a minute to go. And so, I mean, I look at all that and say, man, from 2018 till now, could have won all those games. But welcome to life, welcome to sports. That's how it goes. Now, in 2017, we made the state championship game. We were not going to beat Bishop Miege. It didn't matter what we did. They were better than us. But all those other games, you reflect back and think, man, I wish I would have done this or wish I would have done that. And so to answer your question, to jump back to your question, there's an extra sense of motivation that we could have got it done and we didn't. And why did we not get it done? And so as a coach, you analyze that. I'm sure the players did too. And then when I don't feel like getting up in the morning or I don't feel like giving the extra effort, I'm going to reflect back on that and say, I don't want that to happen again. Things are going to be different.
Last question before we let you go, Coach. How much fun is it just keeping up with your alumni? I mean, especially for an Andale size school in Class 3A, you guys are churning out some amazing products that are going to the next level. How much fun has that been for you as a coach, just watching those players succeed at the next level? It's
the most rewarding thing to me in my career. Out of everything I do, I think, and don't get me wrong, championships are awesome, and but it's just cool because those kids are in your system. And I'm talking about Caitlin Fairchild, who's thrown at Texas A&M as a jab thrower, or Kinsey Fairchild, and their dad obviously is our defense coordinator. Now Mason, who played at KU, is on our staff, and Riley Marks, up at K-State throwing. And so it's not just football, right? Because I have all those kids in the weight room. It's all the sports at Andale, and I love it. I mean, it creates as a result, people start recruiting you, right? Outside, they want to come to Andale. They want to bring their kids there. And we've had a little bit of that where parents are saying, hey, that's where I want my kid to go to school. And I love that. I do the same as a parent. And so I think the conversations, right, are the most rewarding, because I think when they get to the next level, there's some self-reflection a little bit of, man, you're right, Coach. Like, there's bigger, faster, stronger out there. Man, you're right. All these details matter. Man, you're right. And so seeing is believing. When you get to that level and you get around some really special kids, it changes the way you view things. But I'd like to say that our kids are obviously some of those kids, right, that they are the bigger, faster, stronger. They are doing well at those levels, and they're doing well because they have the discipline to do things the right way. And that's what I'm proud of, is that, it's great to be talented. It's great to, get the results and all those things, but are you going about things in the right way? And I think our kids are, and that's what makes me proud.
Coach, appreciate the insights, and best of luck this season.
Hey, appreciate it. I'll come on anytime.
I love that. Dylan Schmidt joining us here, the head coach of the Andale football team. That'll do it for our Quality Time interview.
Referees and game officials are a vital part of high school athletics. These men and women take time out of their lives to ensure a safe and fair environment for student athletes. As you attend sporting events this year, keep in mind the hard work and dedication of the officials. Respecting officials and authority figures is one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach our students. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who take the time to officiate our competitions.
Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities, from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our football chatter. And, man, this time of the year, there's one guy and there's one magazine that I think about a lot, and I think everybody does as well. That's John Baetz, the publisher for the Kansas Pregame magazine. John, appreciate you jumping on the show. I mean, I say this to you every year, whether I text it to you or we talk on an interview, whatever it may be. Man, phenomenal magazine. Again, you do it and you do it the right way. So hats off to you. And maybe this is a time where you can actually relax here in a little bit, but great job on the publication.
Thank you very much. I can't believe it's been 20 years. When we started it, I mean, I didn't really know what it was going to be necessarily. It was a product of, if you're familiar with Tim McGonigal from Scott City, who has KansasProFootball.com, he and I had been talking for a long time about doing something, a preview publication. He had kind of used Dave Campbell's Texas Football as a kind of a resource for what maybe he was interested in doing. And we got together and put this together, but I couldn't have imagined that I would be doing this 20 years later. And then for the last 8 years, doing it as my full-time job. I mean, that and the winter basketball, wrestling, and the spring baseball, softball, track, and then expanded web coverage and social media and all those kind of things. I would have never imagined, but it's it's been really special to be able to cover high school sports in this way. And then speaking to your point about hoping that, maybe there's an opportunity to relax a little bit. Well, my full-time writer and editor, Keegan McCulloch, is going to have another baby, I believe a little baby girl. They already have a boy. And the due date is towards the end of November. So we actually are ramping up production on the basketball and wrestling preview as quickly as we can, because we want to make sure he's ready for that when it comes to go time.
What is that photo shoot like? You mentioned, close to 70 players and coaches gathering in one spot. What is that photo shoot like on that day?
Well, for me, it's just the most stressful experience that I have during the year, because it's this process of I've had interns, I think each of the last 4 or 5 years through the Next Generation Roundup for Youth, which is a subsidiary of Next Tech, and a really outstanding organization that's helped to feed us interns that I might not have otherwise had. And so one of the interns will be responsible for checking off the athletes and making sure that they're arriving. And one of the other interns might be responsible for making sure that they get the sponsors will send information, flyers, swag bags, things like that. And we make sure that each of the athletes and their parents, their families get that kind of stuff. We have treats, we have cookies and ice water and things like that for them. And so making sure that every athlete gets photographed with multiple poses, gets photographed. If we have, Osage City, we had 2 kids from, so we make sure that they get photographed individually, they get photographed together. Sometimes we have coaches there, making sure that those all get photographed together, and then making sure that we get a group shot that works in the vertical format. We've picked when we used to do it, my goal was one athlete from every classification. And then the further I've gone along, the more I've been like, oh man, I hate to leave this kid out. I hate to leave this kid out. And it's evolved into this. It's still, we got to have at least one kid from each classification. But then we also, we want to make sure that we try to get as many of those elite players in each classification covered as possible. And so it is a highly stressful, usually it doesn't take that long. We can usually get them in and out the whole thing in a couple of hours, and maybe less. We've done them in 90 minutes before, but it is also incredibly cool because you get a kid like Charlie Phelps from Tesket a six-man player that's with a kid like J.J. Dunnigan from Manhattan, who is absolutely one of the best all-around athletic prospects in the country. It's very cool, I think, for those kids to see that they get to interact together. And me being a small town guy, I've lived in Lincoln for 25 years, and obviously it's pretty well documented that I grew up in Smith Center. It's really important that the small town kids get coverage. I don't think you can cover them equally as far as because there's just not as many of them. I mean,
Sure.
There are, hundreds of kids on 5A and 6A teams. And so, but to make sure that they get some coverage in a statewide publication like this is incredibly important to me.
Well, it would be unfair of me probably to ask you your favorite part of a magazine of that size, but I will ask you, what are some of the features this year that you're probably maybe most proud of?
Well, there's a couple different things that we did this year, and if you've seen it, this is called a single gatefold. So, this is the cover, and then when you flip it and open it up like this, we've done one of these before, and we just did one for the spring issue that we did, and then of course to feature all of these different athletes with their coaches was a really fun and special experience. And then the 20th anniversary team, that was a lot of fun to put it together and to look back over, since we started this in 2006, to look back and say, who are the absolute best players that the state of Kansas has seen in that time. And it's really cool to think about some of these people. I mean, Bubba Starling, of course, was in the Royals system and didn't have, the major league career that was predicted and that he hoped for, but man, he was an incredible athlete. Yep. And Breece Hall is maybe the best running back that I've ever seen play in person, although I've been fortunate to see a lot of really good ones. Jake Sharp was, outstanding. Mark Seminaw, who I was a couple years older than in high school, was an outstanding running back. I've been fortunate to see a lot of great players play, but Breece Hall, really outstanding player. And then you look at, Avery Johnson right now is a great quarterback at K-State. Braden Smith is absolutely the most freakish human being that I've ever seen in person ever. And a guy that was 6'6", 320 pounds, basically of shredded muscle mass. The guy was so big and strong that they wouldn't let him max out because they stopped him at 500 pounds on bench and they stopped him at 500 pounds for reps on squat because they just were like, you don't need to try to one rep max and just, just annihilate your legs and your pecs and your things like that. And of course he went to Auburn and he plays for the Indianapolis Colts, and we can go on and on about these outstanding players. And of course it's still up for debate. There are limitations that go along with print. You only have so much space in a print publication. There are certainly other players that deserve to be mentioned amongst the best in the state of Kansas. And our team is influenced by some of the players that we've watched over the years. But the debate about it is certainly fun. And sometimes you have people on social media that get a little bit too fired up about that. But for the most part, I think people are pretty respectful, and I think they appreciate the product that was produced.
John, appreciate it. And like I said, I guess you don't get to breathe too much here as you're already working on the winter edition. But nice job on the magazine, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking time to do this. I'm excited about this new venture that you have. I hope this is maybe something that I can contribute to again and down the road. I would say I will be remiss not to mention that a very important part of this issue to me was writing a feature column about my high school football coach, Roger Barta, who passed away this summer. Just a great, great dude. He was a great coach, but just a great guy. He was a really caring man, and he was not a guy that was in your face. He was a process guy. And I hope people will enjoy reading about him and hearing a couple of my stories about him. And I plan to do a little more video stuff myself this year and talk about some fun stories about him down the road. So be sure and check us out, KansasPregame.com, Kansas Pregame on Facebook and Twitter, X. We don't do as much on Instagram, but we are present there, and we appreciate everybody following us and following along over the course of the year. And we'll have football rankings and all that good stuff as well. So come back and visit often. And thank you very much, Cole, for the time to be on and talk about this morning.
That is John Baetz, the publisher and CEO of Kansas Pregame Magazine, joining us here for Football Chatter.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for Next Level Talent, a segment where we get to talk to former Kansas high school athletes that are now competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. And today we check back in with the Shockers. Riley Vandaveer joining us, a senior at Wichita State University and a member of the cross-country team who competed at Olathe South High School. Riley, appreciate your time and jumping on the show. What's it like going into that redshirt senior year now in college?
I'm kind of feeling like the old man on the team. Me and my buddy Cesar Ramirez were the actually oldest 10-year members on the cross-country and the track team. So we've been here, I guess, since fall of 21, but it's good. It's good. It's good to see the team grow, and it allows me to help out the younger guys grow and mature as runners and people as well.
Well, go back 4 or 5 years ago when you weren't that old man and you're competing at Olathe South High School. What do you remember about the South program? What stood out to you in your time in high school?
Coach Pope and the boys, really. Coach Pope is an excellent coach. He helps everybody progress no matter what level you started at. He wants you to feel confident in yourself and to work hard every day. And my boys, a lot of them, we kind of just went through high school, some through middle school together, and it was just a good time. We would all work hard, but it was a bunch of monkeying around as well, though.
What got you into running? What first excited you about running and made you want to stick with that?
So I started track in 6th grade, and a story my mom likes to tell is that I wanted to quit about midweek on my first week of 6th grade track because I thought the warm-up was the workout. And so when they started the actual workout, I was like, oh, well, but she convinced me to stick through the week, and here I am, like 12 years later doing track. And I actually played football in 8th grade, but I had a decent mile time. And so Coach Pope, he used to teach at Santa Fe Trail, and so he watched a couple of my high school or my middle school meets, and he recruited me to cross country, and I've been doing it ever since.
Well, you mentioned that decent mile time. I was looking at your bio on WSU's website, the 409 mile, your best there in high school. At what point did you realize that you kind of like the longer distances, though?
Well, longer distance, I guess, it's perspective. Honestly, I don't remember why I started doing distance. I think probably because my dad did cross country and track when he ran for Missouri Southern, and so that's probably why I stuck with it. My acceleration isn't that great, so it typically takes me about 200 meters to get up to full speed. So 100 or 200 it just wouldn't work out. And the mile and 800, it's just fun. Or mile 800, 1500. It's just fun because it's short enough where it feels like an all-out sprint, but it's long enough that there's some drama, some play, some strategy that has to go into it, where you have to cover this move and you have to decide, am I going to go with them or not? But you have to do it pretty quickly.
You mentioned your dad competing at Missouri Southern. What did you learn from your dad? Any advice that he gave you that stood out?
Just work hard, stick with the boys. he says that he was a 400 runner that somehow managed to do cross. And so a lot of the times he would just tell stories of him and his buddies just working hard and honestly less of like him telling times about working out at Missouri Southern, but more of just his constant support. He's rarely missed a meet, and just his constant love and support of even on bad days. He'll tell me, hey, keep your chin up, just keep fighting, and just keep trusting the Lord, and good things will come.
Riley, why Wichita State University? What went into your recruiting process and why you chose the Shockers?
So as some may know, my recruiting year was kind of janky because it was the COVID year. And so I didn't have any junior times, which a lot of kids use or have used and do use now as like for the recruiting. I actually committed to Wichita State like mid-May. So the joke was that they'd just find me a broom closet to live in because I thought all the rooms would be taken up. But so I was looking at, I was looking at KU, Arkansas, and Wichita State. KU because KU and Wichita because they're in-state schools, and my parents went to grad school at Arkansas. So I was looking around and contacting coaches, and besides Wichita State having an amazing engineering program, Coach Hunter was just really welcoming, and the boys here were very welcoming, and I could see that they worked hard, and it was a good chemistry, and I felt wanted here.
Riley, appreciate your time and best of luck this year.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That is Riley Vandaveer, a member of the Wichita State University cross country team and out of Olathe South High School. That'll do it for Next Level Talent. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Closing time on Kansas Sports Chatter. Thanks for tuning in on the podcast or watching on YouTube. I want to make this as interactive as possible. Reach out on social media. Give us some comments. Give us some inputs. What you think about the show? Hit us up. Also, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're a business owner and you want to promote your business on the show, you can reach out about advertising opportunities at ksportschatter@gmail.com. Appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you soon.